Good morning, everyone. Today, let's talk about something crucial: your energy, your peace, and the quality of your life in your golden years. Because if there's one truth I've learned, it's this: your time is your most valuable asset, and who you spend it with matters more than anything. Now, here's the tough part. Some of the people draining your energy, holding you back, and dimming your light may not be strangers. They might even share your DNA. But let me be clear. This isn't about pushing people away. It's about protecting your peace and prioritizing your well-being. So who are the 5 types of people you must avoid as you grow older? 1, the energy drainers. These are the people who walk into your life with an invisible vacuum, ready to suck the joy and vitality out of your day. They are masters of finding problems, not solutions. Every conversation with them feels like wading through a swamp of negativity. They complain about the past, criticize the present, and fear the future. Their mindset is often rooted in scarcity and fear, and they project that onto you, whether intentionally or not. Here's the thing, we all face challenges. Life throws curveballs at everyone. But energy drainers have made complaining their way of life. They don't just vent occasionally, they thrive on making others shoulder their burdens without contributing any positivity in return. You might notice they rarely ask about your life or celebrate your victories. Instead, they're quick to pull you into their spiral of pessimism, leaving you emotionally exhausted by the time the interaction ends. It's not just the words they speak, it's their presence. You feel it in your body when they're around. Your shoulders tighten, your energy dips, and you find yourself mentally drained long after they've left the room. These people don't just take your time, they rob you of your emotional reserves, leaving less for yourself and the people who truly matter. What makes this even trickier is that energy drainers aren't always obvious. They might mask their negativity as concern. I'm just being realistic, they'll say, or I don't want you to get your hopes up. But in reality, they're projecting their fears onto your dreams, planting seeds of doubt in places where you need confidence to grow. And let's be honest, sometimes these energy drainers are people you love, even family members. That's what makes it so difficult. You feel an obligation to engage, to listen, to support. But here's the hard truth. You can't pour from an empty cup. You have to draw boundaries. You can acknowledge their feelings without letting their energy dominate your space. Think about it. Your emotional state is your responsibility. In your later years, when you've earned the right to peace and fulfillment, why should you allow someone else's negativity to cast a shadow over your life? 2, the manipulators. Manipulators are some of the most cunning and subtle people you'll encounter, and what makes them particularly dangerous is that they don't always appear harmful. In fact, they often disguise themselves as well-meaning individuals, people who claim to care about you, look out for you, or have your best interests at heart. But beneath the surface, their actions are guided by self-interest, and they're masters at using emotional tactics to get what they want. The hallmark of a manipulator is their ability to play on your emotions. They know exactly how to push your buttons, how to evoke guilt, or even how to make you doubt your own instincts. You'll notice they have a way of twisting situations in their favor. For example, you might express a need for personal space, and they'll spin it into a narrative where you're being ungrateful or selfish. They make you question yourself, and over time, you might start bending to their will just to keep the peace. One of their favorite tools is guilt. Manipulators are experts at making you feel like you owe them something, whether it's your time, your energy, or even your resources. They might remind you of something they did for you years ago or exaggerate their sacrifices to make you feel indebted. They'll use phrases like, "After all I've done for you," or "I guess I just don't matter to you anymore," to tighten their grip. Another tactic manipulators use is playing the victim. They position themselves as the ones who are always hurt, misunderstood, or wronged. By doing this, they draw your sympathy and make it difficult for you to hold them accountable. You might find yourself constantly comforting them or trying to fix their problems, even when they've clearly brought those problems upon themselves. Manipulators are also skilled at isolating you. They subtly discourage relationships that don't serve their agenda. They might plant seeds of doubt about your friends, colleagues, or even other family members, saying things like, I don't think they really care about you, or they're just using you. By doing this, they ensure they remain the central figure in your life, making it harder for you to seek outside perspectives or support. What's even more challenging is that manipulators often come across as charming and persuasive to outsiders. They know how to present a favorable image to the world, making it difficult for others to see their true nature. This can leave you feeling isolated in your experience, as others might not understand or believe the extent of their manipulation. Over time, the presence of a manipulator can take a heavy toll on your mental and emotional well-being. You might feel drained, confused, or even trapped, as if you're walking on eggshells to avoid conflict or their disapproval. What starts as subtle control can grow into a pattern where your needs, desires, and boundaries are constantly overshadowed by their demands. Recognizing a manipulator requires keen awareness because their tactics are often disguised as concern, love, or loyalty. But deep down, their actions are always about maintaining power and control over you, even if it comes at the expense of your happiness and peace of mind. 3. The enablers of stagnation. The enablers of stagnation might not seem harmful at first glance, but their influence can be one of the most insidious forces in your life. These are the people who subtly discourage you from growing, evolving, or stepping outside your comfort zone. They may not openly oppose your dreams or aspirations, but their behavior and words act like. What makes these individuals particularly tricky to identify is their passive nature. They're not actively trying to harm you. In fact, they might believe they're protecting you. They'll say things like, why do you need to do that at your age? Or shouldn't you just focus on relaxing now? On the surface, these comments may sound like concern or care, but underneath lies a resistance to change, your change. Enablers of stagnation are often uncomfortable with growth, especially when it's happening around them. Your desire to learn something new, take up a hobby, or embark on a personal transformation challenges their status quo. It highlights the fact that they've settled into their own routines, perhaps even given up on their ambitions. Rather than facing their own discomfort, they project it onto you, convincing you to stay where you are. They'll remind you of your past failures or downplay your accomplishments, making it seem like pursuing something new is unnecessary or even risky. They might say, why risk failure when you're already doing fine? Or you've done enough, just enjoy what you have. These comments may seem supportive, but they subtly erode your confidence and reinforce the belief that it's too late for growth. Another way these enablers operate is by indulging habits that keep you stuck. For example, if you're trying to improve your health, they might encourage you to skip your exercise or indulge in unhealthy choices, saying, you've earned it, or what difference does it make now? If you're working on a personal project, they might distract you with time-wasting activities, saying, you deserve a break. Their intention may not be malicious, but their actions create a cycle where progress feels impossible. Enablers of stagnation often come from a place of fear of change, fear of losing the connection they have with you, or fear of being left behind. They might be afraid that as you grow, you'll outgrow them. This fear can lead them to unconsciously sabotage your efforts to better yourself. It's not that they want you to fail, they just want you to stay the same because it feels safer for them. One of the most significant challenges of dealing with these individuals is that they're often deeply rooted in your life. They could be close friends, longtime colleagues, or even family members who genuinely love you. Their resistance to your growth might not come from malice, but from their own insecurities and limitations. However, their influence can still be damaging if you're not aware of it. Over time, the presence of enablers of stagnation can create a sense of complacency in your life. You might start to internalize their doubts, questioning your own ability to grow or change. You may feel like it's too late to learn new skills, pursue your dreams, or redefine your purpose. This mindset can rob you of the joy and fulfillment that comes from living a life of continuous growth and discovery. To identify these enablers, pay attention to the subtle ways they respond to your aspirations. Do they cheer you on, or do they gently pull you back? Do they encourage your curiosity, or do they steer the conversation towards staying comfortable? Their influence may be quiet, but its impact on your life can be. Or the guilt trippers are a particularly challenging group of people to deal with because they wield one of the most powerful emotional tools, guilt. They have an uncanny ability to make you feel as though you're constantly falling short, as though no matter what you do, it's never enough. Their influence often comes with a heavy dose of obligation, leaving you questioning your choices, your priorities, and even your self-worth. What makes guilt tripping so effective is its subtlety. Unlike outright demands or direct criticism, guilt trippers use veiled comments and loaded questions to achieve their goals. For example, they might say things like, "I guess you're too busy for me these days," or "It's fine, I'll manage on my own, even if it's hard." These statements are designed to make you feel responsible for their emotional well-being, even when their struggles have nothing to do with you. At the core of a guilt tripper's behavior is a need for control. They use guilt as a way to manipulate your actions, ensuring that you prioritize their needs, wants, or opinions over your own. They may frame their manipulation as love or care, saying things like, "I'm only saying this because I care about you," or "If you loved me, you'd do this for me." These phrases can be incredibly disarming, especially when they come from someone you deeply care about, making it harder to recognize the manipulation at play. Guilt trippers often operate under the guise of selflessness, portraying themselves as martyrs who sacrifice so much for others. They might bring up past favors, their hardships, or their struggles to justify why you should act in a certain way. For instance, they might remind you of everything they've done for you. "After all I've done, this is how you treat me?" Or, "I didn't have to help you back then, but I did." By doing this, they create a narrative where you feel indebted to them, even if their sacrifices were freely given and not requested by you. What makes guilt tripping particularly harmful is the emotional toll it takes on you. Over time, you may find yourself walking on eggshells around these individuals, constantly trying to meet their expectations to avoid the weight of their disappointment or disapproval. You might start putting their needs ahead of your own, sacrificing your own happiness, goals, or peace of mind just to keep the relationship stable. Guilt trippers are often most effective when they exploit close relationships, such as family bonds. They know that family ties come with an inherent sense of duty, and they lean on that to amplify their influence. For example, a parent might say, "I gave up everything for you, and now you won't even visit me." Or a sibling might remark, "You're always too busy for family, but you make time for everything else." These statements cut deeply because they challenge your values and sense of loyalty, making you feel as though you're neglecting those who matter most. Another tactic guilt trippers use is exaggeration. They blow small issues out of proportion to make you feel like you've caused them immense pain or hardship. For example, missing a phone call becomes, "You never care about me anymore." Or declining an invitation becomes, "I guess I'm not important to you." These overreactions are designed to make you second guess your decisions and place their feelings above your own reasoning. What makes dealing with guilt trippers even more complex is the emotional confusion they create. On one hand, you might feel justified in your decisions or boundaries, but on the other hand, their words make you feel like you're being selfish or unkind. This internal conflict can lead to feelings of resentment, frustration, and even shame as you struggle to reconcile your own needs with their demands. Over time, the presence of guilt trippers in your life can create a cycle of self-doubt and overcompensation. You might find yourself constantly giving in to their requests, even when it's inconvenient or detrimental to you. Their influence can drain your emotional reserves, leaving you with little energy to focus on your own growth, happiness, or relationships with others. The challenge with guilt trippers is recognizing their behavior for what it is: manipulation cloaked in emotional language. Their words and actions may come across as caring or well-meaning, but the underlying goal is to keep you tethered to their expectations, ensuring that your choices revolve around their needs. 5. The toxic critic. The toxic critics are those individuals who seem to have a negative opinion about everything you do, no matter how well-intentioned, well-executed, or harmless your actions may be. Their criticism isn't constructive or aimed at helping you grow. Instead, it's rooted in their own insecurities, frustrations, or desire to feel superior. They have a knack for pointing out flaws, dismissing your efforts, and making you feel small, often under the guise of just being honest or helping you improve. What makes toxic critics particularly damaging is their consistency. It doesn't matter how hard you've worked or how much thought you've put into something, there's always something wrong in their eyes. They'll nitpick your choices, undermine your decisions, and dismiss your successes as luck or unearned. And for example, you might share an accomplishment you're proud of, and instead of congratulating you, they'll say something like, well, it's not like it's that big of a deal, or I've seen better. Toxic critics often project their own dissatisfaction onto others. Their negative feedback isn't necessarily about you. It's a reflection of their internal struggles. They may feel unfulfilled in their own lives, and by tearing others down, they create a false sense of superiority. However, understanding this doesn't make their behavior any less harmful. The constant barrage of negativity can chip away at your confidence and leave you questioning your abilities. One of the most insidious tactics toxic critics use is disguising their criticism as tough love or constructive feedback. They'll say things like, I'm just telling you this because I care, or if I didn't think you could handle it, I wouldn't say anything. These statements can make you feel obligated to accept their harsh words, even when those words are far from helpful. Toxic critics also have a way of dismissing or minimizing your feelings when you call out their behavior. If you express hurt or frustration, they might say, you're being too sensitive, or I was just joking, don't take it so seriously. By doing this, they shift the blame onto you, making it seem like you're the problem for reacting to their negativity. Over time, this gaslighting can lead to self-doubt and hesitation to stand up for yourself. Another hallmark of toxic critics is their ability to undermine your goals and dreams. If you share your aspirations, they're quick to highlight every potential obstacle, failure, or flaw. For example, you might say you want to start a new hobby, and they'll respond with, why bother? You're too old for that. Or do you really think you're good enough? Their words are designed to make you second guess yourself, planting seeds of doubt that can grow into full-blown self-limitation. Okay? Toxic critics are often relentless, making it nearly impossible to feel good about yourself in their presence. Even casual conversations can turn into opportunities for them to deliver backhanded compliments or subtle jabs. For instance, you might receive a comment like, that's a nice outfit, it's about time you started dressing better, or you did well, considering your experience. These statements may seem innocuous at first glance, but they carry an undertone of judgment that can sting deeply. Dealing with toxic critics is especially challenging when they're people you care about or see regularly, such as family members or close friends. You might feel a sense of loyalty or obligation to keep them in your life, even when their criticism leaves you feeling drained or inadequate. Their constant negativity can create an environment where you're afraid to express yourself, try new things, or even enjoy your accomplishments fully. What makes toxic critics even more difficult to handle is their unwillingness to acknowledge their behavior. If confronted, they may become defensive, deny their intentions, or even turn the tables by accusing you of being ungrateful for their honesty. This refusal to take accountability can make it feel as though there's no way to address the issue, leaving you stuck in a cycle of criticism and frustration. Over time, the presence of toxic critics in your life can take a significant toll on your mental and emotional well-being. Their constant negativity can erode your self-esteem, making it harder to trust your instincts or pursue your passions. You might find yourself second-guessing your decisions, holding back from taking risks, or feeling as though nothing you do is ever good enough. Their influence can create an environment of self-doubt and stagnation, robbing you of the confidence and freedom to live life on your terms.